I wanted to wait on this story because I didn't know if he was going to actually do it. And I wanted to see if there was any pushback, meaning that the last time these emergency powers in Canada were used was the FLQ, which was some French name. It was like the Frontal Liberation Quebec. And what they did was some people kidnapped I think some sort of parliamentary official, and they ended his life. He was found in a trunk of a Chevy Biscayne in 1970 in the Montreal airport. And at the time, Justin Trudeau's father was prime minister. So now this chucklehead can't take the heat. He can't negotiate because that would be bad. What you can't negotiate with. And basically he said, this piece of human trash, okay? He all but stated that those truckers are taking up space. They're often misogynistic and racist. Without any evidence, obviously. So where are we at now? Well, this just came up and I'm like, well, I got to do the video now. So premiers, which is basically a governor of a state, but the premier is the governor of the provinces in Canada. I think there's 7 or 8, I don't know. So there's 4 premiers out there opposed Trudeau's use of Emergencies Act on freedom protesters. 4 premiers have stated their discontent with Justin Trudeau's reported decision to invoke Emergencies Act. Now, he said he was going to do it, but hasn't done it yet. And what that does basically is, I think you could say that they're just going to make it easier for the Trudeau government to use the monopoly of force on protesters who are peacefully protesting. Whether they're blocking roads or not, that's neither here nor there. They haven't been violent. They haven't done anything. The only people who have been violent was the goddamn cops. Of course they are. The CBC reported on Monday that the Prime Minister would invoke the act, with Trudeau's itinerary being updated to include a 4:30 p.m. press conference, which was half an hour ago. So Scott Moe, which is the Premier of Saskatchewan, I think? Yeah. He says the illegal blockades must end, but police already have sufficient tools to enforce the law and clear the blockades as they did over the weekend in Windsor. You see, these premiers don't want to be tied to when the cameras start coming out and they start videotaping police violence on peaceful protesters. They don't want to be tied to that because, well, like in a parliamentary system, anytime they can just call for new elections somehow. I don't know how that even works to this day, even though I'm fairly intelligent and fairly up on, parliamentary styles of government, where the prime minister can go, oh, we're going to vote for new elections. What? Whatever. I'm not here to talk about that. But this guy Scott Moe doesn't want to be involved in that. Imagine that. You're trying for re-election, and your person you're going against brings his videos out and goes, "You said you liked this. You said do it, knock him down, and you supported Justin Trudeau to beat the crap out of 75-year-old truck drivers, and people who are frail, and throw them in jail and steal their licenses and fine them and make their life a living hell. You don't want to be tied to that. So obviously these 4 premiers who were backing Justin Trudeau don't want to back him for this instance. They're all fine backing him when he was reducing people's rights. But then when the truckers started doing their stuff, these different premiers started to say, "Oh, well, we need to reduce some of these mandates." And why now? Because the truck driver is doing the correct thing to do. As of right now, well, we'll see what happens. But I assume that during this press conference, he was going to talk tough. Justin Trudeau is nothing but a school marm, just some sort of librarian. He's a scumbag. He's a weak piece of shit. And he freaking hid from these truckers for a week and a half. And then he said, "Oh, I had COVID, so I had to, quarantine. And it's only take 5 days, but you were gone for way more than that." But you know what? His security said, all the truckers are evil, dangerous. No, they're not. They're just truck drivers. They're blue-collar dudes and women, and they come from all races and backgrounds and colors and creeds and ethnicities. So why would you call them? Why would you as president to do or prime minister state that all of them are this way or some of them? No, they're not. They're not anti-vax. A lot of them have been vaxxed, but they want to just be left the fuck alone. This is therefore from Scott Mulligan. Saskatchewan does not support the Trudeau government invoking the Emergencies Act. If the federal government does proceed with this measure, I would hope it would be only invoked in provinces that request it, as legislation allows. Premier Kenney of Alberta called the gesture unhelpful, stating at a press conference on Monday, "At this point, for the federal government to reach in over top of us without offering anything in particular would frankly be unhelpful." Yeah, if you're trying to run for re-election, of course. Manitoba Premier Heather Stefanson said in a statement released Monday, "I am currently not satisfied with the Emergencies Act should be applied in Manitoba. Winnipeg's situation is dramatically different than one in Ottawa. The Emerson border situation is very different than the one faced in Windsor." According to the CBC, Trudeau told his caucus last night, which would be Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday night, that the measures would be put into place to handle protesters across Canada, although there are no plans to send in the military. No plans of yet, but you know he wants to get those racist supremes, but there are no racist supremes in Canada. And if there are, no one takes them seriously. Just like here with the Triple K. I have never seen anyone. I've seen them on TV in limited amount of numbers throughout my life. I've seen them on Google searches. They don't really exist. Not anymore, not to the extent that they did with the Democrats, who basically funded their operations for hundreds of years, 100 years after the Civil War. Of course they're going to be, every time, what they do is the government, every time they want to get a boogeyman out there, they're like, watch out. Really, where? I don't see anything. Now, just because I don't see them, doesn't mean they don't exist. But going back to this is just a big government overreach, which a lot of Canadians who are against these protesters don't necessarily see what the problem here is. The last time this was used was 52 years ago in Quebec to put down the FLQ thing. So what now? So these people are idiots who think that they want Justin Trudeau to use government overreach and power against peaceful protesters. What's next? You could do it you can use those emergency powers for anything you want. And I read somewhere that these emergency powers sunset after 30 days. Right. You really think that once Trudeau gets this huge amount of power, he's not going to use it to go after his perceived political enemies? Of course he is. Invoking the act comes after 3 consecutive weekends of protests and the city is down to core. The Emergencies Act is an act of the Parliament of Canada to authorize the taking of special temporary measures to ensure safety and security during national emergencies. It is considered to provide the stiffest government aid emergency powers of any emergency law in Canada. It has never been used since its creation and have replaced the War Measures Act in the 1980s. So that's what the Canadian peaceful protesters have in store for them. A very fucking soy-infused piece of shit prime minister who doesn't want to talk with them and find out why are they doing this. Now they're racist. I don't give a shit. I'm not going to talk to them. But he talked to the BLM fuckers. He was all about that. But wasn't this motherfucker blackface? Yeah, he was. To the extreme was he a blackface. He not only did his blacken his face, he blackened his whole body. So if we're going to actually stand on the soapbox and get pissed off every time someone drops an N-bomb in a song or uses the N-bomb 10 years ago in context or something like that, you should be pissed off at him. But no. The truckers are the racist? Bullshit. Bull fucking shit. This could easily happen here in the United States where a president can say, oh, that's right, it never did happen. But it could. You see, we have, there's certain things in the federal government where the government can just deputize and federalize police forces. And Donald Trump did that with in Portland during when they were attacking that I think it was a courthouse for 60 days straight, every night. These Antifa jackwagons were firebombing this building. What did Ted Wheeler, the mayor of Portland, do? Not a goddamn thing. What did Kate Brown, governor of Oregon, not do a goddamn thing? But the president did. He deputized some of the police forces. And that's what will happen here. He'll deputize some other, cops and make them RCMP deputies, I guess. And this is all spitballing here. So that's what I'm thinking what's going to happen. He's going to commandeer tow trucks. Or they're going to buy used tow trucks and try to remove these vehicles off the border somehow, and then not expect any pushback. Well, what I suggest here in closing is that if any truckers out there from Canada listening to this, just hold your ground. If you get arrested, you get arrested. But just so you know, there's a lot of Americans out there that have your backs on this. We've donated. I haven't donated personally. I'm glad I did, because all that data got out there, and the news media was more than happy to let everybody know who donated. And so now they're getting doxxed and canceled because of donating money to them. But they're okay donating money to those BLM and Antifa assholes who are in prison on really egregious charges. But that's okay. We don't. That was for racism. But this is just for some racist truckers out there that I say hold fast. But again, here I am, the comfort of my own home here in the South. I understand. It's kind of like a hard thing. You go to prison and have to fight this court costs and the time and effort, all this, to fight this, or do you just pack up and leave? That's up to you, obviously. But again, as long as you're peaceful, and when the RCMP and the local constabulary or whatever, the cops that come in and start beating your ass, just make sure you're videotaping and live stream it so the whole world will know what this scumbag, asshole, part-time ski instructor who's acting like a fucking tyrant is doing to you in your life and your family's life for all that. Demonizing you, calling you names and ists and phobes without any fucking proof. Also, this goes back to what I've talked about many times before. We get the politicians we deserve. Not always, but that's what usually happens. This asshole was voted in by a lot of people, most of them on the left side of the political spectrum. And the problem here is that in Canada there's no conservatives. There's liberal lights and then conservatives on the right. But having said that, I don't want to go any further, as I'm already at 13 freaking minutes here. But again, the truckers have my full and 100% support, as long as they don't get violent, obviously. Unfortunately, the cops, they're going to get violent because that's what they do. Especially when they're given powers. The cops are more than happy to break fucking skulls open because that's what cops love to do. As long as they have some power over you, they can start cracking skulls, and they would love to do it. And if Justin Trudeau gives them the green light, you're sure as shit this will fucking happen. I guarantee it. Keep strong, truckers. Keep strong. But goddamn, watch the fuck out, because when the shit goes down, you better be ready. Because if you ain't ready, well, time will tell, but you're going to get fucking ready. You have to. Because this shit's going to happen. Because this feckless piece of shit fucking hates your fucking guts. And all the people who voted for him probably hate your fucking guts too. So next time when this piece of shit's on the ballot, hopefully he doesn't get fucking reelected again or whatever. But hopefully when you vote, you think about shit like this happening. Is your prime minister and or president, would he ever do this to peaceful protesters? Not fiery, but peaceful, just peaceful protesters wanting to be heard, redressing the grievances from the government. Ask yourself, when you vote and you go pull that lever or check that box for whatever person you're voting for, ask yourself, are they going to do this shit to you if and when you become expendable? Ask yourself that question.